Thank you, Tatiana. Prepare to be shocked. I hope you're sitting down because an illegal migrant has still not been deported from Great Britain, and we're just getting used to stories that you couldn't make up here at GB News, and here is another one because GB News' political correspondent Catherine Forster has an exclusive for us that simply beggars belief. Catherine, over to you.
Well, we know that the Home Office has trouble in getting people out of the country who don't want to be removed. But here we have a man who is illegally in the country, who wants to be removed, who's been asking the Home Office to send him back to Bangladesh since March of this year. Here we are in November. He's increasingly desperate and he is still here. So what has happened is he came legally on a student visa back in 2013. When that expired, he stayed. He's been here for a decade illegally. He applied for right to remain. That was turned down a few years ago. But of course, no right to work legally. And eventually things became so difficult that this year his bank account was frozen and he decided that actually it'd be better to go back to Bangladesh. So he went to the Home Office, the voluntary return scheme. He said, I want to go back. Can you help me? They said, we can. You need a valid passport. He goes, I don't have one. You need to get one. I don't have the money. Oh, we'll come back to you. They didn't come back to him. So it continues. He becomes homeless. He starts shoplifting. He's apparently mortified and very ashamed that he's done that, but he's shoplifting to survive. He gets arrested, he gets convicted, he gets a 6-month suspended sentence, and then he goes to the Citizens Advice Bureau to help him. And they think, oh, well, this won't be difficult. He wants to go home. We'll get in touch with the Home Office. They'll sort it out. So go to the Home Office. They then say, well, actually, because he's got this criminal conviction, he needs now to go to the facilitated return scheme that's for people who've had convictions, but they say, no, you don't qualify because you haven't actually been in jail. You need to go back to the other scheme. Goes back to the other scheme, and it goes on and on and on. But basically, he's on the streets, it's getting colder, he's now got a criminal conviction, he doesn't want to be here, he's been asking the Home Office for months to send him back, and he's still here.
I'm having to cough because at one point during that I started laughing. I know it's not funny. It's not remotely funny. It's a comedy of errors. It's a total and utter farce, and in many ways it exemplifies the nature of broken Britain. Well, to discuss this further, I'm also joined in the studio by Anna Firth. She's the former Conservative MP for Southend West and Lee. That's the area where this individual is, and also our Home and Security Editor, Mark White. I'm going to start with you, if I could, Anna. You're the former parliamentarian for the area, and yet you became involved. How do you get dragged into this story?
So I was on holiday, Martin, last week, and Citizens Advice, Southend, got in contact with me, and I literally could not believe my eyes as I read this catalogue of errors, as you've said. Frankly, I just had to get involved because this has just got to be sorted out. What this shows us is a Home Office which is drifting, it's in denial, and it's dysfunctional. You literally couldn't make it up. Here is somebody who is illegal in this country, they've committed offences in this country, they're now a foreign offender, they want to go home, they're ready to go home, they're trying to go home, and yet the Home Office, which has got 50,000 employees, don't forget, it's got a budget of £54 million for from 2021 to 2025 for this scheme, and they can't even get this guy on a plane. I looked on Skyscanner yesterday. It's £338 to fly somebody to Bangladesh. If they don't get their act together and sort this out, because this is being foisted on Southend residents, and I think Essex has had enough. It's had more than its fair share of Home Office incompetence. If they don't get their act together, I've got a good mind to start a crowdfunding page, and I think in no time we'll get that money together and we'll escort this gentleman who wants to go to an airport, and we will fly and we will wave him off, and that is his only hope of a better future. He's got no hope here now. He doesn't want to be here. Let's help him get back to Bangladesh.
Mark White. I mean, I'm torn between laughing and crying here, But to you, this is just meat and drink. This is just yet another story that exemplifies the broken lack of joined-up thinking that we have in this country. This individual has been on a visa illegally. Well, if he came in 2013, overstayed. Let's be charitable. Let's say he's been in the country illegally for 8 years, there or thereabouts, and he hasn't been picked up, has to be said, by the previous Conservative government, either simply wandering around, drifted into homelessness, drifted into lawlessness, and here we are now. He's begging to go home, and he can't get out the country. It's astonishing.
Well, listen, I think Anna summed it up beautifully in terms of what we've got with the Home Office and so many of these other big bloated government departments that are just drowning in bureaucracy and an inability to just cut through that and make sensible real-time decisions. You have, computer says no type mentality constantly. This man was being, despite what Catherine said about his determination actually to go back. Okay, he'd been living here illegally for a decade, but now he wants to go. Just get him out of the country. But we see this, as I say, constantly. We get the government, for instance, just trumpeting how much they are expanding their immigration enforcement. They're going after individuals like this. They're making record numbers of raids, 11,000 last year, 8,000 illegal immigrants were arrested. But what happens to them? The vast majority are just released on bail. They disappear off into the system. Or even if they're still there, they come up against what this individual has come up against, which is a lumbering beast that just can't seem to get its act together. And so people, it's not uncommon for those that have been rounded up in these raids to still be here years later.
Yeah. And that's the point, Catherine, because yesterday we saw the ridiculous, terrifying situation. An Algerian sex offender still at loose in the country. He should have been deported in 2020. And it's the same situation again. Even when they're overstaying, they're either, in both these instances, slipping into criminality.
Yes, absolutely. And the government are very fond of saying, look, we are deporting more people than ever before, 35,000, I think it is. The vast majority of those are people who've literally overstayed their visas, who've come illegally. Very few of those are people who've come across on small boats. So, this just is bonkers to me. And just to say, we've contacted that Home Office for right of reply. We haven't heard back from them yet, but we expect that we will. But just talking to the Citizens Advice Bureau in the last hour or so, they are now saying that the Home Office have said to them, actually, we don't have a current case file for this guy on record, despite, let's see what they say, but despite the fact that the Citizens Advice Bureau, Sonia Wood there, has been having conversations with them for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Catherine, if I could interject, your wish is our command. We finally have heard back from the Home Office, and a spokesperson from the Home Office has just told GB News this. At the time Mr Anwar applied to the Voluntary Return Service, he had an outstanding police investigation, one including a shoplifting conviction back in August. All these police matters have since been resolved, and he is now free to apply for the voluntary service again. So there we have it. Don't worry, don't fret. He can get to the back of the queue again, and he can start this process all over again. That's it. Everyone relax.
But he's been trying.
They're putting him back in the bureaucratic black hole that he's been in for 8 months. That is an absolute disgrace, and we are all paying for it. If you commit an offence... Sorry, Mark. No. If you commit an offence, you should be gone in days, not months. Days.
No, absolutely right. And I can tell you that, which we'll get onto, but Brahim Kadur Sharif as well, they are going to argue exactly the same point, because there were these criminal convictions and trials that were still pending with regard to that. We couldn't deport him. We had to get him out of immigration enforcement detention centres and back into a prison where they mistakenly released them. But there's one other thing, this is just me and a little gripe. Can we stop calling them visa overstayers? This is just, we're falling into government nicety, sanitised descriptions.
Yeah.
They are illegal immigrants.
Yes.
Whether you break into the country in a small boat, whether you come in the back of a lorry, or whether you come in on a visa and you deliberately overstay and you work in the illegal economy, you are there an illegal immigrant from that point on.
And let's just repeat that statement. No, you're exactly right to do that. We all get swept into the legalese, as it were. To read that statement out again from the Home Office. At the time Mr Anwar applied to the Voluntary Return Service, he had an outstanding police investigation, which we knew about. That's been public knowledge. One including a shoplifting conviction back in August, again, which we knew about. That's public record. All these police matters has since been resolved, and he's now free to apply for the Voluntary Service again. So Mark White, that would again say to me, if I don't want to be deported, well, the best thing to do, go and commit a crime, because nothing can happen until that's been investigated. Multiple offences can be committed, a litany of offences over time. Until they're investigated, I ain't going nowhere, mate.
Well, without suggesting a potential avenue, it's certainly true that if you are in the criminal justice system and committing what are deemed as relatively low-level offences, you're not going to be locked up most of the time. You'll probably be bailed, but because they're all pending, you won't be, in all likelihood, removed by immigration enforcement, by the Home Office, because they'll think, oh, don't want to touch that yet until that's all concluded.
It feels like we're in Alice in Wonderland, doesn't it? But it does actually raise a really serious point. We have soaring illegal immigration. We have soaring immigration legally as well. If this government can't even get rid of somebody that wants to go home, where we have a returns agreement with the country, where we have a scheme in existence, what hope is there?
I do have to give you a little bit of stick here, because let's be frank, this individual overstayed his visa when your lot were in power, and he wasn't kicked out then.
So I thought you might raise that, Martin, and absolutely right. And I was concerned about that as well. And I am very surprised that he slipped through that net, because you may remember that Theresa May had a clampdown on colleges which started in around this time, 2013 to 14. So I'm quite surprised he did slip through that net. But you're absolutely right, he did slip through the net. But the point here is there is a scheme in place, and it actually goes right back to Tony Blair's government, the voluntary return scheme. It's expanded under the Conservatives. There is a scheme in place. This isn't about money. This isn't about lack of schemes. This is about rank incompetence.
Well, I wonder, actually, if it's not about politics, it's about the fact the Home Office is totally and patently unfit for purpose, despite whoever is in power.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
I just find that response incredible, because I'm sitting here with an email from the Citizens Advice Bureau. I've been talking to the lady a lot who's been looking after this man, and she's got dates of conversations with the Voluntary Returns Service operated by the Home Office that the Home Office seems to have no knowledge of, and saying, well, he's welcome to apply, and yet they have been applying. They've been trying to apply, and the Home Office don't even seem to know about it.
Drift, denial and dysfunction.
OK, we have to leave it there. Another day in clown world. Anna, Catherine, Mark, thank you very, very much indeed. Now, it's also worth pointing out the government has previously celebrated its maintaining removing the highest number of legal migrants in 5 years.